I have seen the shift where they're talking about MAPS, minor attracted persons, and TED Talks and all these things. They're saying we should sympathize with these people, and
it's a sexual orientation.
It's a sexual orientation. I mean, this is wow, sick, man. Where we're headed.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another LED Live, light exposing darkness. Today we're going to talk about a very controversial movie called The Sound of Freedom. Lots of you guys have asked us to review it, so here we go. So I have seen the movie. You have seen the movie. Mm-hmm. You guys have yet to see the movie, right? Do you guys know why it's so controversial?
Well, we talk about human trafficking, and then, I mean, people don't like to hear that, or maybe big corporation not working.
Right.
They don't want to, expel. I mean, you don't hear that very often in the news. So, I mean, somebody might gonna make a movie about this topic. I'm sure it's gonna be a little red.
Yeah, I hear two sides. Like, it's controversial because it's exposing the elites, the Jeffrey Epsteins and all that, and that it's trying to get shut down and all that. But then I hear the other side where it's like, oh, this is all conspiracy theory, QAnon, all that. And people are saying it's not even real. I don't know anybody could think sex trafficking is not real. If you ever been to the airport in Atlanta, it's like every 30 minutes they're saying something about sex trafficking. It's very real topic. I think it's definitely something that should get more awareness about it.
So maybe we can take a quick look at a video clip of the movie that you've put together. We can see what the movie is about.
How'd that make you feel? Giving a child his freedom.
Felt good.
You have been at this for 12 years.
My country 'tis of thee.
Why are you doing it?
Sweet land of liberty.
Because God's children are not for sale. It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
I mean, just how it ended. I mean, it's the largest networking crime networking is like the whole world haven't seen. I mean, like, this is insane, right?
It's really hard to believe, though. I would think drugs, things that would be a lot more easily accessible would be bigger, but maybe it's just the growth of it.
So have you found out who is saying that it's controversial? Who's really pushing the news that, oh, this is a controversial film?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's actually mostly media outlets that are more towards the left and more democratic that seem to be saying these things.
Interesting. Okay.
And then the right wing, like the Republicans and the Fox News, are actually saying, like, no, this is true and we should be talking about this. The movie is about Tim Ballard. He used to work for Homeland Security Investigations. And so he was working a lot with catching predators who were, selling or creating or consuming child pornography. And Tim Ballard came across a case. In the movie, they show you, I think it's a kid in Colombia. I think that in real life, it was actually in Haiti. So he came across this case of a young boy who was kidnapped, and he's like, I want to return him to his father. In real life, the Haitian kid was actually a U.S. citizen, but for some reason, Homeland Security was like, no, this is not a U.S. case, even though it was a U.S. citizen, which is strange. And so Tim Ballard quit his job months out from starting to, receive his retirement plan, and he ended up starting Operation Underground Railroad, his nonprofit. And so QAnon is now promoting this movie, right? They're speaking out saying, yes, we're so glad that there's a movie about sex trafficking, et cetera, et cetera. And because of that...
Wait, so they weren't necessarily involved in
They were not
it.
involved. No, the actor, though, Jim Caviezel, he is considered to have somewhat supported QAnon.
So what's the conspiracy here? Is it the details in the film that's the issue? Are they saying that it's not real? Because I mean, that would be pretty ridiculous. Versus is it being real, or is it the associations? Like, what is at the root of this?
It's two things. One is that the actor Jim Caviezel has associations with QAnon.
Okay.
That's an issue, they say. The other thing is that QAnon is speaking out saying this movie is awesome. And the other thing is that people are saying the details of the movie are incorrect. I'm not sure if this actually happened or the numbers are off about human trafficking, etc.
I mean, it is a movie.
It's interesting what people pick and choose to say, like, oh, the details are wrong, let's throw out the movie, when there are other movies.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, you guys
oh
have seen
goodness.
the movie. What did you see anything controversial about it? In what sense? Because there's like movies where people's heads are being cut off, and that's not controversial.
Not that I could pick out. It's interesting, like comparing a movie like this to a movie like Nefarious. Both of these were made by Christians, but not necessarily for a Christian audience. It was really just to raise awareness about two different topics. But when you look at Nefarious in comparison to Sound of Freedom, Nefarious was like devoid of hope. So it's a really heavy topic about demon possession and these things and capital punishment. But you walk away from the movie with like, oh, you know, like just deflated, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I don't even know how that could be a good thing if it's from Christian creators. Sure, it's not for a Christian audience, but it's for a good intention, like outcome, I would assume. Versus Sound of Freedom, it's a heavy topic. You could walk away from it very like angry, full of emotion or deflated, but at the end, Jim Caviezel comes up and he gives a message of hope. He gives action steps as to what you could do to fight against this next step. So you leave the movie theater not with any kind of misconception that this, like, oh, it's okay. Like, we showed all this stuff, but no, it's not really that bad. Yes, it's bad, but here are action steps you could take so you could feel involved and to protect your community, how you can give back, all this kind of stuff. So there is that element of hope. Christ is brought in as well. I find it a good approach to talking about a heavy topic like that. But when it comes to the conspiracy of like who's promoting it, that's interesting to throw away the film because of who's promoting it. What is it about QAnon? What is QAnon?
So I have a clip actually in here where a news anchor interviewed someone who runs a podcast that discusses QAnon.
To look more closely at the rise and spread of the QAnon conspiracy on the campaign trail, I'm joined by Travis View, co-host of the QAnon Anonymous podcast. Travis, welcome to the News Hour. You have been following the QAnon conspiracy theory and its followers for a very long time. Let's start with the basics, though, for those who haven't been. Just to explain to us, where and how did the QAnon conspiracy begin?
The QAnon conspiracy theory originated on 4chan in October of 2017, though it has its origins in Pizzagate. The basic premise is that a group of high-level military intelligence officials, close to President Trump, QAnon followers believe, are sending out secret coded messages on these image boards about this great grand battle of good versus evil, in which Trump and what they call the Q team are working to destroy a global cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles, which the QAnon community believes is controlling everything, and that includes politicians, entertainment, and the media.
Okay, so
I believe it.
so QAnon followers of the Q believe that there's an elite of devil worshippers who sexually abuse children, right? And it's like politicians and celebrities, all those kind of things. So whether QAnon believes this or not doesn't take away from the fact that there are people who are higher up who are sex offenders who also abuse children. And I mean, that's just facts, right? Like, that doesn't take away from the truth. So here I have a couple names here. Corey Feldman, an actor. Corey Haim, who ended up deleting himself after depression. Joey Coleman, Elijah Wood. He says he hadn't experienced it himself, but he knew about it. He was a child actor. Anthony Rapp, Mark Salling, an actor, owned child pornography. We know of Josh Duggar, a former reality TV star who owned child pornography. R. Kelly, but he was later acquitted. And 5 years ago, multiple families have accused him of brainwashing and withholding their daughters in what has been described as a sex cult. There's also celebrity sex offenders who have not been immediately associated with child sexual images, such as Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, Mike Tyson, Paul Rubens, also known as Pee Wee Herman, the rapper Mystical, and of course Jeffrey Epstein, who owned an island that the locals called Pedophile Island. I mean, I understand like QAnon's, I believe it's a conspiracy theory and they go really, really far. But the fact is there is pedophilia happening in elite groups. That is, we all know that. So we can't.
That's the best way to discredit the truth, or to make the truth look crazy, is to put it in the National Enquirer or make a whole, forum that's just. It's like Alex Jones. Like I really like when I got into conspiracy theories. I was really watching Alex Jones because everything he said was provable. It's like here's all these declassified documents and stuff like that, but the way he presents it makes it look crazy. Like they're turning the frogs gay. Like he's just freaking out. It's true. Atrazine. You can look it up. PBS. Speaking of, atrazine is a pesticide that was getting to the water, and it was literally changing the genders of frogs. The males were having babies and all kinds of stuff. But when Alex Jones is dressed like a frog and screaming, it discredits the message. So that's exactly what QAnon is. It's like they're like, oh, QAnon lizard people taking over the world or whatever. No, it's like the truth is buried in there. It's just to make it look ridiculous.
Yeah. In my mind, the way I look at it is, let's say you have soccer, right? I'm from Europe. Soccer is huge in the Netherlands. And there are soccer fans who come and they are called hooligans. People who destroy after a soccer match, who just like set cars on fire, who cause violence. That particular group is called hooligans in at least in Europe. That's what they're called. Now, the fact that those people come in and do something bad, like they are destroying the place and they are, giving soccer a bad rap, doesn't mean that the soccer match never happened. Doesn't mean that the team didn't win or lose or whatever. That's still fact, right? It's the same here. Just because QAnon is coming out and saying, oh, like it, this actor's from QAnon and we love this movie and support the movie, supporters like soccer supporters, doesn't take away from the fact that sex trafficking is real. And there's plenty of evidence that what Tim Ballard did, helping those children, etc., actually happened.
And if I'm understanding this correctly, the conspiracy within QAnon is as to who is involved in these actions, not necessarily the actions itself, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like all the elites, because people just, they have this bias. They want to protect Hollywood or whatever. Like people just don't want to accept that their idols are
But the other side of the coin, the idols have a lot of stake in the game,
yeah.
Right? So hey, maybe I'm delving into conspiracy myself, that maybe they're the ones who are stirring the pot so that this is viewed as controversial, and then the message gets lost, that the overall message gets lost because people are trying to discredit it. And in all of that noise and chaos, those people walk off free.
Yep.
So let's look at this next clip. This is Tim Ballard, and he's interviewed by Fox News, and he's coming out about this backlash that he's been given by left media about the movie Sound of Freedom.
This movie zeroes in on the multi-billion-dollar human trafficking industry and honors a hero, someone who saved children from sex slavery. But to the media, this person isn't a hero. Someone who rescues kids from pedophiles is a villain.
These films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites.
For some reason, the entire media is smearing this movie as a dangerous conspiracy theory. The press is saying that the star, Jim Caviezel, is a QAnon guy. And Jim plays Tim Ballard, which is strange because just a few years ago, the same media was celebrating Tim Ballard's heroics. Watch.
Tim Ballard has one mission: to track down child traffickers. 4 months ago, Colombian authorities asked him to investigate a tip that children were being sold there as sex slaves.
Within a half hour, this individual walks up to me, starts asking me what I'm here for, what I want, and within minutes, he says, well, I've got kids as young as 11 years old.
So why is the media warning people not to see a movie about child sex trafficking that's based on a true story? Well, the Spear Fund founder, Tim Ballard, joins me now. So, Tim, why is the media hating this movie?
You know, I can't understand it. The film was made, produced, written like 5 years, 6 years ago, way before anyone heard the name QAnon. I still don't even know what QAnon is. In the meantime, they're trying to connect it to some conspiracy when, in fact, like you said, this is a true story. These are real kids. I mean, these kids are my friends. They're young adults now, the ones that were rescued. They're going to come out soon and tell their story. It's going to be very awkward when the mainstream media comes after these kids next and accuses them of being part of some conspiracy when, in fact, they were rescued from a life of rape. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in the media, perhaps.
I mean, this publication says The Sound of Freedom is a superhero movie for dads with brain worms, and that it fetishizes the torture of its child victims. Is that what the movie does?
It absolutely does not do that. It tells a story based in truth. And, you know, what I think is happening, Jesse, I think that the left and these media outlets, they don't want to have a discussion that this film is going to compel. A discussion about why 85,000 children showed up unaccompanied at the border and got released into the interior of a country that is the highest consuming country for child exploitation material on the planet. They don't want to talk about why these same publications are pushing an agenda to change the word pedophile to minor attracted persons in order to normalize sexual activity with children. I think that's what they're trying to avoid, and they know this film's going to shine a light on all of the things, all the atrocities happening to children, and so they have to discredit it by lying about it.
So what would their motivation be to discredit a movie that's trying to shine a spotlight onto atrocities committed against children?
Well, if the truth of human trafficking and child exploitation were to be brought to bear, brought to light, then they would have to have a debate, a discussion that they don't want to have about, again, these policies around sexualizing children or allowing children to consent at a young age to do anything and everything, which would eventually include being, you know, identifying as an adult perhaps and having sex with pedophiles. I hunt pedophiles. I've been hunting them for 20 years, and they are watching this and they're salivating. They are happy that Rolling Stones and The Guardian are ripping on a movie that exposes them. So I don't like the fact that these media outlets are, in fact, wittingly or unwittingly, running interference for human traffickers and pedophiles.
Wow.
There you go.
That's a great answer right there.
Yeah, that sounds like a truth bomb for real, because I have seen the shift where they're talking about MAPS, minor attracted persons, and TED Talks and all these things. They're saying we should sympathize with these people, and they're
it's a sexual orientation.
It's a sexual orientation. I mean, this is wow, sick, man. Where we're headed.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I don't know if I missed it, but did you see in the film any scene of them graphically showing any high up elite person doing anything to a minor? Like the movie is pretty intense, but they do it in a very tactful way where no child actor had to depict anything graphic to the audience. Like you weren't necessarily exposed to the graphic nature of the content, but you kind of got the gist of what was happening. So for it to be highlighted that the first guest that they had on the show, when he said that QAnon ideas or beliefs are interjected into the movie.
I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, like
I just saw
who were
straight
the
facts.
villains or the people that were buying the children or whatever? Were they?
It was like
portrayed
people
as
part
certain
of
people,
a cartel or something.
Yeah, it looks like the jungles and stuff. What I'm seeing in the videos.
Now, in terms of like the statistics, like maybe they're thinking they're inflating them or what have you, but with a topic like that, it is very hard to get concrete statistics in this area.
Are you a pedophile, sir?
Yeah.
Right.
Like all these children are trafficked underground, but they're not saved yet, so like you can't know exactly how many children are being
Right.
trafficked right now. You can only guess. And that's why so many statistics, even staying away from the movie, right? Staying away from Operation Underground Railroad. If you just look at even government statistics, or if you look at renowned organizations with their statistics, it's all different, right? So like, why beat on this movie when there's other statistics that are different too?
So it was a interview with the director of the movie, and they asked this question: how do you deal with the acting of the children? And because there's heavy topics, right? And very interesting, this guy said, we didn't tell the children whatsoever what the movie was about. Like, they didn't know anything. The only thing we asked them, whatever scene it was, like, for example, I'm gonna grab there, or this person's gonna be mean to you or something, and we tell them, like, you know what, we're filming this episode, and it's like uncle whatever didn't give you the toy or candy or something, and they're gonna take you, like, like he's so upset about it.
So you get the emotion without traumatizing the child.
Exactly. So for the child, the actor, he's thinking about, like, it was my birthday and I ruined the cake or something, like, just be angry or be upset or like be sad because, so they didn't know anything what it's about the whole.
Where else in Hollywood do you hear that they actually treat the children with so much respect and dignity?
Right.
Seriously.
One thing that can be said, though, I did see an article, I believe, talking about a little bit of the corruption that was forming or that was exposed within Underground Railroad. And on the news, even recently, I heard about some corruption in the sober living program that help and take in alcoholics. And out in India, there's a group that is helping people who, like couples who come together that are not part of arranged marriages and become a safe haven for them, but there was some messed up stuff happening in that. So it's like, yes, these organizations are run by people, right? And
it happens in churches,
right? And so things are going to happen, and it is unfortunate that they do happen, and they do bring a bad name to those companies. And a lot of times we focus on that and forget all the amazing things that they were doing for decades before this came out. So you're seeing the good with the evil. And I even heard that, what's his name? Tim Ballard? Was kind of trying to remove himself from the underground to just focus on his work. But
what is the underground, Operation Underground? Like,
to help the kids.
That's his ministry. You will literally go overseas and work with foreign governments to save children from trafficking.
Okay, that's what I
sex
thought,
circles.
but it sounds like there's a reason that he wants to separate himself from it. Is there some kind of tainted name with it, or
because of the corruption that's coming out about how they used funds and all that kind of stuff?
It's his ministry.
Well, he started it, and he's the CEO or what? I don't know if he's still involved.
Yeah, so we should probably fact check before we release the episode if he's actually moving away or not. But yeah, it's like, sure, like two things can be true at once type of thing. Like we can call it for what it is, think bad things may be happening, but also let that not completely overshadow why the organization was started, how many people they have helped. And hopefully, like, the result of calling out the corruption is reform and not completely just dismantling the whole thing for the problem to grow back into the beast that it once was.
Yeah. So I came across Operation Underground Railroad and their work years ago when a friend of mine told me to watch this documentary. And, a lot of these media outlets are saying, like, man, this doesn't even happen, or this is false, but whatever. But you can literally go to their YouTube channel and they show you body cameras, hidden cameras.
That's how the movie starts, actually, with real footage of kids being snatched off the street. Of like security cameras. And people might say, oh, that could be doctored, it's false. But it's like, then you could just go on YouTube.
But the thing is that if it was false, right? I mean, if it was false, the message is
protect your children.
I mean, it's my God. I mean, seriously. I mean, like a human trafficking and kids are selling. Do you think somebody just come up with that thing? I mean, come on.
Yeah, of all the messages that come out of Hollywood, and we're gonna attack the one that says protect your children. I mean, it's nuts, dude.
So I want to show you guys a clip real quick from Haiti, how they did their operation there.
These places are dark, they're shadowy. We have to assume behind every corner is a thug with a gun.
expect that there'll actually be children just sort of on display once you walk in?
100%.
Really?
If they catch us recording something, you wouldn't be recording if you were a client. That's when they pull the guns out. That's when they realize you're better off dead to them than alive.
Yeah, these are rooms. She's got keys to the rooms. So she's 13, 12. Ask them if any of them are scared of the water. More people that are going to be added on. So we're going to have to take
Contain them in the room, keep them occupied, keep them happy until we're ready to proceed with the next phase, which is the arrest and rescue.
Come on in, guys, make this fast.
See what Mike got for you.
What's going on, my man?
Mike.
How old are they?
What age did you bring? 14, 13, you know what I mean? Some of them are 11, I don't know.
11?
Yeah.
I told her, how much you can hear enough, and you're the real thing. So just tell us what you want. Hey, you know you did that. The boss doesn't give money on the boat. You understand that?
You got lots of money.
No money on the boat. The money's in the house. You're gonna get your money. Room 124. All right, brother?
All right, we'll see you later.
Man. Okay, no problem.
Like clockwork, man. It's kind of like clockwork.
Okay, so that's the first. Now, if they do good, you get more.
Here they come. Raiding the house right now. Police!
These guys, of course, will be taken away to prison now, and more importantly, the children. More than 30 children, we think, at this stage. They're in the hands of the people who can look after them, and hopefully pretty soon, at least some of them who perhaps have been kidnapped or even worse, hopefully soon they'll be returned to their families.
It was just elation to know that we'd rescued 30 girls. It's huge, and it's setting the standard now for Haiti.
Wow, that was intense.
Right? And so people say, oh, this is not real. You kidding me?
I don't know. I mean,
Come on. Like, literally foreign governments are involved, but it's not real.
Yeah. In the beginning, you said, like, you guys didn't watch the movie. I mean, I don't need to watch the movie. I saw a lot of things, information.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I saw a lot of interviews and everything. This is a serious topic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very sad. Sad about if you don't believe it. And it's very sad, the facts too, because things happen.
Yeah, we watched something where there was a grown woman that was portraying herself as like a 12-year-old on social media, and she was wearing this hoodie and using filters and taking pictures and just building her whole profile. And as soon as they went live, within minutes, grown men were DMing her and being like, "You're beautiful," and
showing their body parts
and sending pictures and saying, "Let's meet up" or whatever. Within minutes of making a profile live. And it's ridiculous to think this doesn't happen.
Yeah. So let's watch one more clip. This is from the director of Sound of Freedom. He is Mexican, and what is his name?
Alejandro Monteverde.
Okay, so we're gonna look at an interview he did with the local news.
Last weekend, police broke up a major sex trafficking ring in Colombia, which has become a destination for tourists looking for sex with boys and girls. The police had help from an American who went undercover to rescue the children, and Elaine Quijano met him.
Tim Ballard has one mission: to track down child traffickers. 4 months ago, Colombian authorities asked him to investigate a tip that children were being sold there as sex slaves.
Within a half hour, this individual walks up to me, starts asking me what I'm here for, what I want, and within minutes, he says, well, I've got kids as young as 11 years old.
Ballard, a former Homeland Security agent, now heads up Operation Underground Railroad, a nonprofit group that rescues trafficked kids. After that first meeting, the Colombians asked him to put together a sting.
No men will be in here, only women.
Operation Underground Railroad spent months planning, renting this house, rigging it with hidden cameras to document the crime, coordinating with Colombian authorities, and negotiating with the traffickers.
How they find these kids is they lure them in by pretending to have a modeling agency. They target them at 9 or 10 years old. And they were telling us that about by 11, they're ready for sex. They're ready to be sold.
What is that like, looking into that kind of person's eyes?
It's horrifying, and this is why. Because I've got a smile in the face of evil. This is the table where we're going to do the negotiation.
Less than 24 hours after the operatives landed, the suspected traffickers arrived on the island, and the final deal with the undercover team began. 54 boys and girls aged 11 to 18 were ushered in for what had been billed as a sex party. They were given candy and drinks and told to wait in this small room.
This little 11-year-old boy, I remember, he asked one of my operatives if they could give him some cocaine or something. He said, they usually give me something because I'm really scared.
By the time the deal was done, the alleged traffickers were set to make $25,000. That transaction was never completed. 25 Colombian special operatives stormed the party, arresting 5 suspects, 4 men and 1 former beauty queen, all charged with child trafficking. The victims, 29 of whom are under 18, were evacuated, given medical exams, and placed in a rehabilitation center where specialists are working to undo the damage.
Right before I got in the boat, we had to walk by this room where the kids were, and they put their hand up. And I touched their hand and see that there's liberation now.
Liberating one child at a time. Elaine Quijano, CBS News, New York.
Wow. That's noble.
Wow, interesting.
It's interesting they keep saying that he's risking his life, which is true. He's also risking the lives of his family in the sense that he could have died at any point, leaving his wife a widow and his children fatherless. But God has been the one carrying him through, keeping him alive, placing this burden on his heart. And for his wife to be in support of that and to pretty much sacrifice her relationship with him so that he can go out and save all these children is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Amazing. All the things that he has sacrificed. And this is real, like he's told his story in interviews. So not even putting aside the movie, looking at him as a person, looking at everything that he's sacrificed for this to be what the opposition is coming up against, just to be like, no, this isn't real, is just beyond my scope of understanding. Like why? You know, of all the stories.
So to me, it's like, why not media is seeing the hero part? Like this person decided, you know what, I'm not gonna be, all the money, or I'm gonna be hang out with my family in Cancun. Why I need to be wasting my time for 2 months? Or
I think in that same year he was gonna retire with pension. From Homeland Security. But because of that operation that they wouldn't support it, then he was like, okay, I'm going to go off and do my own thing.
I mean, that's beyond stuff. I just want to share with you guys some clip of the movie, and we're going to know more facts about this show.
Did you know there were over 22 million new images of child pornography on the web this past year? That's a 5,000% increase over the past 5 years. 5,000%. The fact is, it is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
New 22 million pictures. New, okay? It's not like it was before. It was the new 22 million pictures in the past year.
So these are the statistics they have a problem with. It's interesting though. They probably saw this coming because after he says a statistic, he just says, well, the fact is this is the fastest growing. Whether it's 5,000 or what have you, this is this of all of them, this is the fastest growing. It's disgusting.
And it's like the technology that we have today is making it possible. I mean, when we were growing up, you take a picture, take it to somewhere, they develop it. I mean, you'd be busted unless you had your own, like they call that the dark room and all this stuff. But it's like you had to get those pictures out physically, and now it's just like put on a website, boom, it's out there worldwide. I mean, never in history have we been able to distribute this kind of garbage like we have today. So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, ultimately technology always ends up in the wrong hands eventually, and this is why we have what we got.
And the problem with pornography, any pornography, is that it gets duplicated very quickly. So like women who have been trafficked for pornography come out saying like, well, I'm trying to approach this particular website and ask them to take my stuff down because I never consented to that. I was trafficked, I was raped. I had to pretend like I was enjoying it to make sure that I could stay alive and get out. Right. And so that's what they tell these websites. They're like, yeah, well, they'll take it down, but in the meantime, it's been duplicated and it's been uploaded to all these other websites. Same thing will happen with child pornography.
Wow, interesting. We see all this information, but the question is, what are we gonna be doing about this, right? And just, I had this small clip of the movie, and it deals with that, with this confrontation. Like, okay, this is the facts. What are you gonna be doing about this?
I agreed to it because we were working with the U.S. government.
Back out now, this whole thing will blow. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's gonna pass the drug trade. And you wanna know why? Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time, but a child, the most precious child, you can sell a 5-year-old kid 5 to 10 times a day for 10 years straight. And everyday ordinary people, you don't want to hear it. It's too ugly for polite conversation. But meanwhile, over 2 million children a year are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. Trust me, man. If we do nothing, their pain is gonna spread and spread. Till someday it's gonna reach the likes of you. And that will be a nightmare that you're never gonna wake up from.
Okay,
I mean, I didn't watch the movie, but when I was researching this, I mean, it's just like some anger inside of you. It's like he was saying, I mean, it's not a polite conversation. I mean, you never had a conversation. I mean, I never had a conversation, even though when I was doing bad things in my crazy life, I never had that garbage conversation. Not even to do it, or just like, hey, do you know it's crazy world and they have this, we can talk about that. I mean, that's beyond, it's just crazy.
When I watched the movie, I was having such a hard time, just like you. I was having such a hard time not crying. I was with my fiance and I was just squeezing his hand the whole time. And again, to think that people just want to bash a movie like this, people like how can we talk about child trafficking and pornography? How can we have a movie like this and people, all they want to do is trash it? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
It doesn't make sense because you look at stuff like Cuties came out on Netflix and it glamorizes it. And there's like, and that's not the only movie. I've seen other movies, some French film that's all about some gay guy who's in love with a young boy. And like this stuff gets glamorized and romanticized, but then you talk about the truth of what's really happening and it gets bashed. That's the world we live in. I think it's just signs of the times. Hearts are growing cold. Good is evil. Evil is good. Minor attracted persons. All this stuff. and like he said, it's not a polite conversation. Nobody wants to talk about it. And I can understand people maybe not want to talk about it, but to go against it, mind blowing. I can't understand it.
I mean, the Bible said that sin is going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to grow before Jesus is going to come. And let me tell you, if this is not what we see, what the Bible said, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're sleeping. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we need to be ready. And ready on just not like just my salvation, but also it's like, okay, how we can help other people.
I think one of the first things we as a people need to do, whoever watches pornography needs to stop.
Absolutely.
Because like this can only go on if there's a demand.
Right.
And people might say, well, I don't watch child pornography. I just watch pornography of ladies that are child porn stars and get paid for it. Well, I would refer those people to Fight the New Drug and whatever, you know, they have their blog and they have a page called Get the Facts because, and to their podcast, Consider Before Consuming, because there are so many people out there that are seen in pornography videos that are portrayed as, oh, I'm enjoying this. And like I just explained earlier, a lot of them are trafficked. A huge percentage of people, men, women, are trafficked. Where, you know, I heard a story of this lady who was a fitness model, and she legitimately thought she's getting flown out for a fitness model photo shoot. And when she reaches the hotel, they force her to do pornography, and she basically gets raped. And if it hurts, well, sorry, but you have to act like you're enjoying it. So we're going to hurt you even more until you pretend like you're enjoying it. Wow. And then they locked her up in the, she went to the bathroom finally when they were done, and they ordered burgers and fries. These things are happening in pornography. A huge percentage of children are being trafficked as well for sex.
And some of them, though underage, are dressed up to look older.
That's right. They're dressed up to look older. So you don't even know what you're dealing with. Are you dealing with child pornography? Who knows? Or there is older women that they dress up like children. And so pornography messes with your brain. It gets you completely mixed up to the point where people testify like, man, I started with just pornography, or I started with masturbation. Then I started watching pornography. And then I started getting into this and bestiality. And then I started getting into, you know, incest or child pornography or racist pornography where Black people are being put down and abused. And man, it just goes so far. And like, there's no end to this. There's no stop. So if anybody watching these things, I can safely watch pornography and I can do this and I will never get there, think again, because this is literally what's happening.
Yep.
And that's why God speaks against it in the Bible.
No. If they're not trafficked, then they could be addicts that are just, they're enslaved in bondage to drugs. It could be just in a hard up situation. They're doing the only thing they know how to do. Or even if they're doing it willfully, they're so messed up in their mind that they're exploiting themselves. And one day they will regret that. And you are supporting that. You're supporting their terrible decisions that they're making at this point in their life. That's just like having some kid that's making these really crazy decisions, doing drugs. And you're like, here, you want some drugs? I guess. I mean, you're supporting the bad decisions they're making.
Yeah. And you were talking earlier about not wanting to fund the organization that might put out one good movie, but a lot of bad movies. Man, I can guarantee you there's so many pornography videos that people will watch that they think is completely kosher and safe, but then they pay for that and look on the other end, they make child pornography that you might not even know of.
Right.
There's also no comparison in the way that in the Bible sin is sin. There's no like hierarchy of sin. Looking at the extreme, like, oh, well, at least I'm not sacrificing or like drinking blood or, you know, or at least I'm not rounding up the kids. I'm just in my room. It's wrong, period. Yeah. There's no degrees to this. So whether we're looking at the so-called extremes of so-called QAnon or whatever the reason is, like the fact is this is happening. It's wrong and it should stop. Yeah.
Amen.
Well, I'm going to be sharing with you guys at the end of this program. I'm going to be sharing with you guys the producer of this movie, Eduardo Berastegui, says about Disney. So don't finish the whole show because I'm going to be sharing with you guys the last clip that I have. But let me tell you, people, I don't know if you you know about this TikToker, very famous guy. He went to watch this movie, and it seems like he had a little breakdown. This guy, his name is Chris Rooney. He has like 5.7 million followers, and he went to watch it. And he said that, I mean, he was very ill. Like, he went to the hospital because it was a very, the topic is not like enjoying the movie with your popcorns, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's very heavy. So he went and decided to go to the hospital and say, hey, I need some help. But let me tell you, he says prior to his disappearance, he has seen the movie Sound of Freedom. And like many others, he was sick to this core over it. This prompted him to post links, raise money for this cause of ending child self-trafficking.
Wow.
So, of course, he had some problems, mental issues, and he went to watch a movie and he's like, this is so heavy. And I need help. And he went to the hospital and I need to check in.
It's interesting. This kind of response also happened with Avatar.
Yeah.
But no one posted links to fundraise or support for anything. So of course, this situation is unfortunate that that's what tipped him over the edge to get into this institution. And I'm happy that he got the help that he needed. But it's admirable that it caused him to act.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That having those feelings prompted a sense of urgency, prompted an action to do good. And so with this kind of movie, it's not that heavy movies are bad, you know what I mean? It's like
exactly,
heavy topics can be discussed, they should be discussed, and the outcomes really let us know what kind of topic we're actually dealing with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this is not a reason to not watch it just because it
Exactly.
affected this guy this way. He's being exposed to something that he probably didn't know was such a big deal. Just like when I was talking about the lady that would pretend to be 12 and get on social media, like people that were the cops and everything, the people that were ready to bust the guy were sick to their stomach. They'd have to leave. Like as soon as they heard the comments that the guys were making, they just couldn't even function. And it's like, this is a reality. This is really what's happening. And that's why it's so heavy hitting like that, because you just, we expect people to have some kind of decencies or morals. We expect the best of people, people are normally good, or is what we think. But no, there's a lot of disgusting, disturbing things happening.
And that's not to say people should watch it in the sense of protect yourself. Like if this is too heavy, that's fine. But that's not a reason to not be informed. Like you could still go read and research or look to see how you can prevent this happening to your family or your community, your sphere of influence. And
I haven't seen it, but from what I have seen and heard, it looks like they were very, they weren't real explicit about the way they displayed any of it. So it could have been a lot worse,
Yeah.
And
it is though, in fiction, it is worse.
Oh yeah, I know. There's way more out there that's way worse.
Anyway,
go
ahead, Alex.
And also, Rooney said that if there's one thing that I have to learn during this time, there are a lot of hurting people in this world, and I'm going to do everything I can help them.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
So, I mean, he's using his platform to say, you know what, this is you can donate this, or, raise money for this cause for ending, sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I have this clip of people that want to go watch the movie, and something happened in the movie theater. They were not able to watch the movie.
Oh yeah.
Look, I don't know if you heard of something like, the gas something, or the water in the bathrooms is shut down or something like that. Like,
Oh no, I thought theaters were not banning it, but either closing down or blocking access to the film. But you're talking about actual things happening in the theater.
Yeah, and
at least excuses.
Yeah, so I have some clips. So I'm sure you can find a lot of them in social media.
Okay.
But I just want to have a few here.
The whole country, different theaters. In this movie only, the AC doesn't work. It's super stiff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you should look online. It's it's insane.
Fire alarm goes off and people still watch the movie. They can't stop the truth.
You guys, I just experienced a conspiracy theory in person for the first time ever. So I just went to go see a noon showing of Sound of Freedom, which is the human trafficking movie by Jim Caviezel. that's currently outperforming Indiana Jones. But like, of course, studios and everything are trying to hush this movie and make it seem like not so many people are going to see it, and they're not promoting it at all, and they're basically trying to make it seem like no one is going to see it. Theaters all over the country keep having really weird things happen when people go to see it, like AC not working, sound not working, lights not turning off. And I was like super curious, so I came to see it, and the lights didn't turn off for the first 10 minutes. And also there was like a voiceover, like a narrator for blind people. And so I could like tell around me, like tons of people kept getting up to go complain. And then after about 15 minutes, someone came in and they turned the movie off, and someone came in and was like, we can't fix it, so you all have to leave. We're going to give you free passes. And people are like, why this movie? I've never had this happen before. And they're like, we can't turn the speaker off because we'd have to go in a back room and like climb a ladder to turn the speaker off. And so basically, like, we're going to have to fix it. And they were like, well, it's been playing for quite a while. Why is this just happening now? And they had like no explanation. I'm just sitting out here finishing the drink that I bought because I didn't get to see a movie. And like people were kind of rumbling like, oh, I heard there's some shady stuff going on around this movie, and now we're seeing it in person. And I'm just like, wow, like why doesn't Hollywood want people to see this Jim Caviezel human trafficking movie? Why doesn't Hollywood want there to be awareness around human trafficking and pedophilia? I'm flabbergasted. I mean, why wouldn't they want to? Isn't that nuts though? Like, has anyone ever experienced that in a movie before? I've never experienced anything like this in a movie. So yeah, I've never gotten like kicked out of a movie 15 minutes in, especially not a movie with this, you know, far-reaching implications.
Wow. That's really interesting. I agree with her. I mean, it's not like I've been to a ton of movies in the theater, but as a kid, I didn't grow up Christian or anything, so I went to the theaters quite a bit and never has had any issues with the movie theater. Never.
No, I watched like a 16-minute video clip of back-to-back things where people were pulling out their phones like they were being asked to leave for different reasons. A guy went to there's like these automatic kiosks where you can buy your ticket. And he said, look at this. Every single seat is sold out except for the one in the front row. There's one seat open in the front row. He was clicking the ones to show you like it says seat taken, seat taken. He said, all right, I'm going to buy this one in the front row. Boom. And he walks in and there's like 10 people in the theater. So many open seats, yet the kiosk was saying every seat was sold. And then, like Alex was saying, there's things like the bathrooms are having leaks and just, it's insane, dude.
It's weird. That's really weird.
It's just insane. We're living in some crazy time. I mean, seriously, like I cannot believe. Sometimes you're thinking like, never gonna happen. Come on, 10 years ago, somebody tell you, you know, like what we're living right now, and you're like, man, you dumb. What are you talking about? Like,
yeah,
we live in it.
I'm the kind of person that if somebody tells me a conspiracy theory, I'm like I just really stay away from it, and I try to be really down to earth. But this is like, that's weird.
So this is the clip that I'm gonna be sharing with you guys. The producer of this movie, Eduardo Verastegui, is gonna be sharing about what he thinks about Disney. Okay, so this guy, Tim Ballard, went and met him years before, like 5 years or 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was before QAnon even came to be that they started writing
2015
the
or
script,
something.
Which is an interesting point.
Yeah, when they met, because this guy Eduardo, he came from Mexico and wanted to be, you know, in Hollywood, to grow and everything, make movies. But the thing is that he was learning English, right? And his English teacher asked this question, kind of like a homework. He said, I want you to practice your English right now and talk about what is life. And he's like, what is life? They never asked me this question, what is life, So he started writing, and it's like, in that moment, it's like, what my life I'm going through, like, drugs, partying, all stuff, like what I'm seeking, that is not life. Wow. And he decided, so you know what? I'm going to be knocking the door in Hollywood, something that's not going to be talking bad about, where I'm from, or as a man, just to get the bad parts, like you're a drug dealer, things like that. And I don't want to, the value of a woman. I don't want to destroy that thing. So that's where his movies, and when he was asking some to be, acting this paper and this movie, he didn't get that much job. So he decided, I need to start making my own movies. So he started creating movies. Bella, I don't know if you guys watched the movie Bella. It talks about abortion and not to do it. It's a good message. So he's been creating good movies. And when Tim Ballard shared with him about this is the stories and all the stuff, and it's like, we need to create this thing. Like we need to do it. That was the beginning of creating Song of Freedom. Okay. And right now, I just want to share with you guys what he thinks about Disney. So listen to this.
July, 4th of July, we're competing with who? We're competing with Disney, who wants to corrupt your children. And Sound of Freedom wants to save the children. David against Goliath. You're David too.
That's right.
If we come together as one David, we know the end of the story.
Disney gets their head cut off.
So when do you see or hear an actor, a producer, it talks about, Disney want to destroy your children.
Yeah, I thought Disney was good children's stuff, right?
Yeah, and this film is going to be helping, saving your children. And also he said, from the Bible say, the story about David and Goliath, right? He said, we are little Davids. What's the end of the story.
Everyone plugged in knows. Like they know that, and even Disney is very upfront about their plans for children and what they're going to do. And so what's really happening is the top people or actors, producers, they're just not talking about it. They're not coming forward and saying
some
these things.
like the agenda. They like
True.
the promotion of that stuff.
And then those who do and are against it, they're the ones who come out as crazy, or we don't hear from them for a while. And but they're protecting their own circles. They're protecting their kids. They're the ones not giving their kids phones until they're teenagers. They don't watch their the kids don't watch their parents' movies, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, whereas the general public, they're championing on, and they're relying on us to do that so they can keep going and doing their agendas. Yeah.
And I think it's ironic that sometimes in our comment section, people say, you're the reason that people aren't Christians. And it's like, they'll bash what we're saying just because we're like, look, this movie is blatantly glamorizing the occult, blatantly glamorizing the LGBT agenda and all this stuff. And it's like, they'll protect those movies. They'll protect that entertainment, but yet bash their own brothers and sisters who are simply pointing it out.
Yeah.
Like, we're not just like making stuff up. We're like, look, here it is. And then we're the enemy. It's interesting.
Yeah, we're the enemy of the devil.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people allow themselves to be used by the devil.
Yeah.
And anyway, as the director?
The producer
just said, we know how the story ends. So we just need to be faithful in our work.
Amen.
Yeah.
Stay on the side of David.
Yeah. And even if it doesn't happen in our lifetime, vengeance is the Lord's. All wicked people will receive the just punishment, and people need to repent. I mean,
because the Lord does want to save.
That's right.
Like that's something I do want to emphasize is like, we don't want to sit here and just bash people that, put out Hollywood movies that are promoting the occult or anything satanic or anti-Christian. We don't want to just sit there and do that. We want to say those are people that God also wants to save, and there's hope for those people.
Yeah.
Jesus died for everyone.
Yep.
And we are exposing these things because we want people to understand what's going on so that they can make a decision for Jesus if they choose to do so.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the gospel.
Yeah.
And powerful thing that he was so corrupted. He's going to say, you know what? Because I come to know Jesus Christ, that he's my savior. Now I'm a new creature. I mean, that's the crazy.
Yeah.
And I believe this, that we're going to hear those testimonies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's...
If people are at home watching pornography, watching child pornography, if someone even has attractions for children or whatever their sin is, like Jesus can set those people free. He can save them, and he wants to save them. There's hope for everyone. Every single person on this earth has hope in Jesus, that they can change and repent and they can become beautiful people when they receive the Holy Spirit, when they accept Jesus in their hearts.
Amen. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoy this episode about Sound of Freedom. I know many people of you have been asking about what is our reaction. You guys gonna be talking about this, and I just want to tell you thank you for your support, and we can make videos like this. If you want to go to patreon.com/Little Light Studios, support us there. Don't forget to like and subscribe in our channel, because let me tell you, that's gonna help us to grow and to share this video, this discussion. And I hope this message was a huge help. We need to be awareness of this.
Also, if you guys want to check out some t-shirts, we all are wearing some. Go lightwear.shop and check them out, and you can support us that way. And we also have a podcast. If you want to dig deep into the Bible and discover the truth of God's word, check out Little Light Studios podcast on whatever podcasting platform you listen.
And we have Little Light Studios in Espanol.
Oh yeah,
we have Little Light Studios International.
Yeah, lots
Little
of
Light
languages.
Kids.
Oh,
you got children.
What up?
See some things that are educational, Bible based. We get a lot of people ask, "What can we watch?" You guys tell us all the stuff we can't watch, and it's not easy. It's pretty much impossible for us to say this is safe to watch, because hey, even Arnold or Arthur had a gay wedding and stuff like that. So. Subscribe to Little Light Kids. It's new, but we need your support to help us produce more content that's safe for children.
Another way you can support us is through our website, littlelightstudios.tv. If you'd like to donate, you can go to lls.tv/give. And we also have a bunch of content on there. Our DVDs are on there. You can find stickers, free posters, and there are many resources available as well, Bible studies and all of that. So check it out. And we'll see you next week on LED Live. Bye.
If you're looking for good, wholesome, educational content for your children, subscribe to our new channel, Little Light Kids.
There has been very few movies in the history of the world that have completely changed our world. And in 1999, a movie titled The Matrix hit the world stage.
These stories are often told and seen over and over again. Is it simply just to make money? Or is there something more nefarious behind it?
many materials. Bible studies are on there as well. So give that website a check.
Check it out.
Check it out. And there are many resources available as well, Bible studies and all of that. So check it out. And we'll see you next week on LED Live. Bye.